Hello everyone, today we have a writing lesson and our lesson is about how to write a summary. Our objective for today is students will be able to identify the parts of a summary to fill in a graphic organizer. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to understand the features of writing a summary. You will identify the parts of a summary graphic organizer and you will fill in the summary graphic organizer. So let's start by asking, what is a summary? Summarizing a story means telling the important events or ideas in a story in your own words. A summary of a story is much shorter than the story. So let's learn how to write a summary. To summarize means to retell a story in your own words, so you don't copy. To summarize, use your own words, keep it short, tell the main idea for the beginning, middle, and end, and don't forget who, what, when, where, why, and how. Use a few words to tell the most important part of the story, so you don't have to mention all of the details. You mention only the important things. Now there are 5 things you need to mention. Use the big 5. Somebody, wanted, but, so, and then. Let's start with the first one, somebody. And somebody means who is the main character of the story. And then wanted. What did that character want? And the third thing that I have to mention is but. And but means what was the problem in the story? So, how did the character try to solve the problem? And finally, we have then. And here we mention what was the solution to the problem. So to write a summary, we need to mention these 5 points. Somebody, that means I mentioned the main character of the story. Then wanted, what did that character want? But what was the problem in that story? So how did the character try to solve that problem? And then what happened at the end of the story? Now, do you remember this story, Little Red Riding Hood? Well, for those who don't remember it, let's watch it.
Little Red Riding Hood lived in a wood with her mother. One day, Little Red Riding Hood went to see her granny. She had a nice cake in her basket. On her way, Little Red Riding Hood met a wolf.
"Hello,
Said the wolf.
where are you going?"
I'm going to see my grandmother. She lives in a house behind those trees.
The wolf ran to Granny's house and ate Granny up. He got into Granny's bed. A little later, Little Red Riding Hood reached the house. She looked at the wolf.
Granny, what big eyes you have!
"All the better to see you with."
Said the wolf.
Granny, what big ears you have!
"All the better to hear you with."
Said the wolf.
Granny, what a big nose you have!
"All the better to smell you with."
Said the wolf.
Granny, what big teeth you have!
"All the better to eat you with."
Shouted the wolf. A woodcutter was in the wood. He heard a loud scream and ran to the house. The woodcutter hit the wolf over the head. The wolf opened his mouth wide and shouted,
Oh,
and Granny jumped out. The wolf ran away, and Little Red Riding Hood never saw the wolf again.
Let's fill in this graphic organizer. There are 5 points I need to mention in the graphic organizer. Somebody, wanted, but, so, and then. So now let's remember the events of the story and fill in the graphic organizer. First of all, I start with somebody. Who is the main character in this story? Little Red Riding Hood. Who is the main character? Little Red Riding Hood. She is the main character. Then, what did she want at the beginning of the story? Yes, she wanted to visit her grandmother. Third point, but what was the problem in the story? The wolf ate the grandmother and tried to eat her. Remember, I don't mention all of the details. I mention only the important things. Now let's move to so. How did they solve the problem? What did she do to solve the problem? She screamed for help. And then, what happened at the end of the story? The woodcutter saved them and killed the wolf. So, here I have the 5 important points that I need to write a summary for the story. Now, after you have read the story, The World According to Humphrey, it's your turn. We are going to write a summary for that story. But first, we have to fill in the graphic organizer on Seesaw. So now let's go to Seesaw and you will find this graphic organizer. You have to fill in these empty boxes depending on what you read in the story, The World According to Humphrey. You are going to answer these 5 questions. Who is the main character? What did he want? What was the problem? How did he solve the problem? And then what was the solution at the end of the story?